on this episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists.
That's one of the great things about our team here at Bola. They love going into dental offices. They love working with people. They love understanding, as CJ mentioned, this whole new world. And they really went in, spent the time, and understood, and were able to come out with a tool that's really singing right now.
Think about it really simply. We basically train our AI to understand these different accents, right? And so anytime you hear us say training, we're literally taking a bunch of files of Southern accents and being like, here, you're saying occlusal over and over and over again. And so that's part of our process, is we're always kind of training as we encounter maybe a Creole accent, something that's not as common. We'll keep training and making it better and better.
Some of our clinicians love Bola so much they call it Bola Bob. Kind of internally talk about that, and that's a little bit of the vision, is it's your person, it's your assistant. Go talk to them the whole time, go give them the data the whole time, and let them handle it.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of A Tale of Two Hygienists podcast. My name's Andrew. I'm your host. This is a special bonus episode in partnership with Bola AI, and I'm joined today by Rushi and CJ. And the things that we're talking about today is incredible. I think sometimes when we think about artificial intelligence, I think when we think about technology advancements, we kind of get in our heads about, oh my gosh, this is going to take so long to learn. This is going to disrupt my patient flow. I'm going to be having to spend a lot of time on the startup or the implementation phase of this. And you'll see through our conversation today that, one, this new technology is super exciting. Two, all of those concerns that you normally have about AI or new technology is pretty much going to be set to the side and not even anything you have to worry about. What Rushi and CJ have created is, when we last caught up with them actually, was voice-activated perio charting. They have since added several more tools, and those tools are working in the background. I don't want to spoilers all the episode of what's going to happen, but this technology is working in the background and can be a useful aid to help make sure that you do the thing that you need to do, to make sure your chart notes are accurate, to make sure that it's saving you time and effort in the long run through our busy schedule. You're really going to love this episode. I have in the show notes several links that are very important. So make sure you check out the show notes and follow those links. All right, here is the episode.
A tale of two hygienists.
Listeners, welcome to the interview portion of the podcast. Joined today by Rushi and CJ. Thank you for being with me today.
Thanks for having us, Andrew.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about this because it's been just over, I think it was July of last year that we last talked. You and Tina, Rushi, we talked about all the really cool stuff that you guys are doing. But I remember at the end of that episode, you're like, but wait, there's more coming. And so I'm assuming that's what we're going to be talking about today, is like some of the updates you all are all doing. But before we get into the updates, listeners, sorry, that was a teaser. But listeners, I want you to get to know CJ a little bit, who we didn't meet on the last one. CJ, do you mind introducing yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. My name is CJ Donio. I'm the director of product at Bola AI. I've actually been doing product for about 13, 14 years now. Did everything from fintech, head tech, to now getting into medical and dental, which I'm really excited for.
How just out of curiosity, as you jump from some of these other things into dental, how big of a learning curve is that for you?
Oh, there's a learning curve for sure. Just like knowing all the right terminology, like how people work. Honestly, I'm a sponge still. I've been here almost a year, and I'm learning every day more and more things about how dental works. I have a ton of respect. It's kind of insane just learning how much they have to do day to day in an 8-hour window. It's blowing my mind. So I'm still learning.
And the public thinks we just talk about brushing and flossing. That's all we do. Is brushing and flossing. Like, no, there's way more than this. So, Rushi, again, welcome back. But for the listeners that maybe didn't catch the last episode, but by the way, listeners, I'll link that in the show notes. You got to go check that one out first and hit pause on this one and then come listen to this one. But for those ones that didn't get a chance to meet you last time, do you mind introducing yourself again?
Thanks again for having me, Andrew. My name is Rushi Ganmukhi, founder and CEO of Bola AI. My background is in artificial intelligence. I was a researcher in the area for a while, and specifically in natural language processing, which is making computers understand human text, which is more fun than it sounds. And yeah, super excited to be here. Super excited to talk about our products in the dental space and kind of overall where AI technology is going since we last spoke. Like ChatGPT has taken over the world, and I think language processing is having its day in the sun. So
yeah,
excited to bring that into the dental space.
So listeners, if you didn't get a chance to, or maybe you did hear last year, we are really talking mostly about perio.
Yeah.
And kind of like the voice charting and things that you guys were all doing for that. In this episode, I think we're going to just talk, if we don't mind, like focus more about the new additions, because and what it also kind of goes back to the whole, Chat GPT and all of that. This genre is exploding and you guys are keeping right up with it. Like you guys are evolving and changing just as fast as the space is. Tell us more about like the stuff that's new to you this year.
Oh, the new stuff. We love talking about the new stuff. So yeah, as you mentioned, we started with voice perio charting, which is exactly what it sounds, kind of introduced the use of AI for that. So awesome reception from customers. And customers basically since the first sale we ever did for voice perio charting have asked about voice restorative charting and doing new patient exams, a little bit of treatment planning coming up in the future as well. Doing that all over voice, because that's a massively tedious thing to do.
Yeah.
And CJ and Pari, one of our other team members, spent a lot of time going into dental offices. That's one of the great things about our team here at Bola. They love going into dental offices. They love working with people. They love understanding, as CJ mentioned, this whole new world. And they really went in, spent the time, and understood, and were able to come out with a tool that's really singing right now, which is, the voice restorative charting. And again, it uses artificial intelligence technology. It's getting smarter, it's getting better, it's getting sharper, it's getting faster as you're using it.
Which is kind of important because I feel like, voice perio charting is awesome because for hygienists that don't have an assistant, it is very tedious to do 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, all over for all the teeth and all these things. And sometimes there's cross-contamination issues and things like we're always trying to be mindful of. But we're also trying to, help educate patients and do all these things all at the same time. But going hand in hand in most offices, or many offices at least that I worked in, it was still the hygienist's responsibility to do the restorative charting too. What does the existing restoration look like? And it's like, well, if you don't have an assistant for that also, between those two things, that's 15 minutes. That's like, a quarter of your appointment, depending on what office you're at, sometimes half of your appointment, depending on if your office is being crazy. And so it makes sense that this is kind of where you guys moved into. But I want to talk about like accuracy for something like this. I guess in my head, can you guys go, actually, maybe just I'll have you guys go through the process of it, because in my head, I'd be like, okay, well, I'm going to start in the upper right. I'm going to say, okay, tooth number 2 as this restoration. Do you have to do all composites first? Do you have to do all amalgams at the same time? Or can you just do tooth by tooth? What does that actual process look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we built it. One of our goals is always to fit into the dentist workflow, into the hygienist workflow. They've been doing it. Most people we go to, been in school way too long, way longer than we have been doing this for 10 years, probably by the time we come to them. We want to match it to them. And we found having rules like that, like, okay, you have to go tooth by tooth, you have to go in a particular order, really hampers people. And so we've made it pretty flexible where you can go out of order. You don't have to do like composites, then fillings, etc. You can just go in any order you like on any tooth, then it will mark it. And that's more of a realistic workflow because we know people miss things. We know people go out of order. People have their own preferences.
Sure.
We've built it that way.
Just to tap onto that real quick, it's literally as simple as add condition to tooth number, right? Basically doing that, you can do anything. You can add an implant, you can add a root canal, you can jump all around the mouth. We also have really cool things like marking missing teeth that you could do via our restorative commands. And then Rushi also mentioned there's also that treatment planning, right? So it's kind of like your existing okay, here's what's going on existing, but you can also plan for the future. Yeah, very, very flexible. We do have a cheat sheet that shows all the different kind of procedures, conditions we currently support. And we're always adding on to that as people kind of give us, more feedback. So it's also a maintained product. It's also a growing product in that way.
Well, and that's because the space is ever evolving. And I know people are like, oh, dentistry is like a science that's not, continuing to grow and continue to advance, but man, it's advancing really fast. Let me ask about the surfaces part, because the surfaces part is always kind of trips people up. So when I am saying let's add this restoration, does it have like class 5 ability? Do I have to say MO as opposed to MOD and DO? Like, how does that part correlate?
Yeah, so it's as fine-grained as you can get into the practice management system. So MO, MOD, we support all of those. And so you can take care of the surface. We didn't want to just do a gloss job. We wanted to provide you kind of the same functionality that your practice management system would be doing if you were doing it by hand. That was the goal.
No, and that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of us are, I don't want to say a little bit lazy, but we're like, okay, well, class 5, that's just a buckle. It's good. It's buckle. So we talked about this in the last episode a little bit, but like people that might have an accent, like a Boston accent, as opposed to like a Southern accent, as opposed to a West Coast accent. How is that impacting findings?
Yeah, so we use the same speech engine and a lot of the same kind of AI stack that we use for perio for restorative. And that's actually why we were able to do it so quickly. We didn't have to start from scratch. And it's great because we were able to take out background noise. Background banter is actually the most common thing. Somebody speaking from another operatory coming in, right? Someone yelling numbers, someone saying something that they shouldn't be saying coming in to the product. We're able to remove that. We're able to handle accents. Southern accent by far is the most fun. I think the Boston accent, of course, since we started in Boston, we could handle since day one.
Sure.
The Southern accent was a fun one, but yeah, we can handle most U.S. accents, foreign accents. It's pretty robust to those things.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, one more thought there. We think about it really simply. We basically train our AI to understand these different accents, right? And so anytime you hear us say training, we're literally taking a bunch of files of Southern accents and being like, here, they're saying occlusal over and over and over again. And so that's part of our process is we're always kind of training as we encounter maybe a Creole accent, something that's not as common. We'll keep training and making it better and better.
I love that. Again, this whole world is fascinating to me. Like the more input you put in, the better the output's going to be, right? So, what are some of the? This might be a dumb question, but like, what are some of the obstacles you ran into building this out that you didn't really think was going to be an obstacle that you found?
Yeah, so I think one of that's the story of CJ's life. So but one of the funny things with restorative is it's a really different problem than perio. It looks similar and the product looks similar, but it's a really different problem where, right, the number of restorations, the codes are almost infinite on what people want to do and what people want. Whereas perio, you can there's only so many spots you can put furcation. There's only so many conditions you can fill out. And so I think that was something that was really, we spent a lot of time on understanding what are the most important things an office can do? What are the most common things? And understanding what that set is and making those 100% perfect in our product and then building out from there. And so it was a little bit of a different way to build a product, but it was really interesting because you work with dentists dentists, hygienists, you go into the office and they love mentioning the edge case. They love mentioning hey, once we did this one type of restoration, does your product support that?
Right.
And unfortunately, we typically say no. If it's out there, we probably don't. We've built it to the majority case. So that was definitely a fun learning and a lot of fun interactions there.
CJ, do you have any interesting stories since this was kind of your life a little bit? Time to fix things?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like one common thing I've just seen in software is like people are busy. Right? You get a new software, you need to learn it while really busy. And so thinking about restorative specifically, we basically have this cheat sheet. It's 2 pages that tells you, okay, here's what you say, here's the format, try these examples. And then what's really nice is you do a 15 to 30 minute onboarding and you can basically use the product.
Yeah.
And so simply getting them engaged right out of the gate and saying like, hey, this isn't going to take you months, right? Like, don't compare this to like a practice management migration or something like that. Like this is actually pretty lightweight. So that's big on the change management side. The other one I'd say, like just a challenge, is sometimes you're dealing with dinosaurs of computers, just really old computers with different problems. So it's kind of fun. Me and the engineers and Pari, we often are playing whack-a-mole, just trying to like solve computer problems that aren't related to our software, because they totally, make it seem like something isn't running as it should. And so that's a challenge, but again, folks are busy and they need the support, so we do it.
Well, I'm glad you actually brought that up, though, because that is a follow-up question I had is, I feel like a lot of people do, and I apologize, I'm not a computer guy whatsoever, but, you have PC, you have Mac, and you have certain management software that only works on one or the other or is cloud-based or whatever. Are there limitations to, like, is this a universal product, or is there better computers than others, other than being antique?
So I would say that's probably the most crucial thing, Andrew, is modern computer would be the best. Maybe let's say within the last 5 years, ideally new, it would be the best performing for our product.
Do people use tablets and things like that for this, or not so much?
No, that's something we are looking at supporting.
Okay.
And I could throw one more thought at you if it's helpful. I would just say, look at our website and it will show you the different practice management softwares we support. We support multiple desktop and cloud. So we actually have a plugin version, that's the cloud version. Then we actually have a desktop app that supports, Dentrix and EagleSoft and stuff like that. And so we support kind of the biggest ones. Our goal is to eventually have broad coverage across as many of them as we possibly can. But right now we have like the majority share of practice management softwares.
And I would assume that they all also have to be the most recent models of that. So like EagleSoft is like on 25 or whatever. I don't know what they're on now, but they can't be like version 2.
We recommend it. I mean, our software does work with past versions, but you're getting those patches, you're getting those fixes for problems. Okay. So I won't call out the practice management software, but we found out there was an issue with performance a couple weeks back. Basically, our app's seemingly slow. We found out it was actually the practice management software. So they pushed that fix and everything was fine. And so we always recommend people kind of stay on the latest version of our app and your practice management software. But I could give you a bunch of examples of people that are like, I have to stay on this past version, and our software still works.
Oh, well, I mean, that's helpful, because we were one of those offices, by the way. It's like, we are not changing our stuff.
We're not saying, yes, exactly.
EagleSoft 16 is as far as we're going. I remember that. I want to say, so this is launched. People are using this currently.
Yeah.
Are you noticing that it's mostly the dentists using this, or do you feel like it's team members that are using it most often?
We're finding a lot of success with hygienists, actually.
Okay.
And just like you said, Andrew, that they're tasked at doing the perio and then moving over to the restorative.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of success there because the hygienists that we're going to are already trained on Bola for voice perio. It's very similar in terms of how things are done, how things are said. So it's pretty seamless. And it's easy to move between both of them as well.
Nice.
So I think we're seeing a lot of success, specifically with hygienists on the new patient exams.
Because we're the best.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you mind? Should we switch over to AI Scribe and talk about that for a little bit?
Do it.
So tell me more about the rollout of this.
Yeah, so AI Scribe is a product we've probably been working on it for like 4 years now, before even the technology existed to do it. And what happened, similar to launching perio charting in offices, we got a lot of asks for clinical notes over voice. And so this was something that was a little harder, where we had to really dive in with the dentists and the hygienists and understand what they wanted, what the value was. I think restorative was when people said we want voice restorative charting or voice perio charting, it was pretty obvious what they actually wanted and what we needed to build.
Yeah.
With AI Scribe, we probably had 3 or 4 versions of clinical notes products. And so the first product was like pure dictation. It was like basically what you could do with your phone. It was you press a button, you talk, it records it, and then expect the staff to go clean it up, add in their templates, all those things. And that actually, we have a lot of users still using that product. A lot of, probably I think 1,000 uses a week at least on those. 1,000 notes a week at least done on those. So that's chugging along, but it wasn't it didn't scratch the itch for most of the staff. And so again, we tried again, and I know the word templates is thrown around a lot, and I know offices love their templates.
We do. We love them a lot.
So offices love their templates, and so we're not coming in to blow up what you're doing. And so that's been something that we've heard a million times. And then when this open AI technology, generative AI, large language models, that all came out last year, we've seen a lot of companies in the medical space do kind of ambient note takers, where something will be, your phone or computer will be listening, will transcribe what you're saying as well as what the patient is saying. And then at the end of it, it will summarize it into a SOAP note or into whatever format, which is pretty cool. And those are blowing up all over medical. They are growing like crazy. The companies that are doing it are raising tons of money. Doctors are loving it, saying things like, this is why I got into medicine, right? The things you want to hear.
Yeah.
And so we saw that other side of the coin. And so we started there. That's where we started. That, okay, we know this works in medical. This product other people have built. Can we take this into dental and see what people say? And so that's what CJ really, really worked on and really, really built. And I think we had a lot of interesting learnings. And at the end of the day, I'll let CJ take over, but the end of the day is that exact product does not work in dental, and neither does the exact like dictation product. And so we had to come up with something new for dental offices, which we're getting a lot of excitement about. And so CJ, I'll let you take it over.
All right. So I think it's important to like understand what a SOAP note is. Essentially, it's a very specific template to use in any certain patient interaction to capture the details you need to capture and then summarize it in a way that makes sense. And you can use for insurance, you can use for patient records, right? So it kind of starts off with subjective, which is essentially the patient saying, here's the pain I'm feeling, here's why I came in today, here's the symptoms, how long they've been going on. And then the next section, the O in SOAP, is objective, which is basically you doing your examination, intraoral, extraoral, images and radiographs, vital readings, all that kind of stuff. Doing a period chart is another example. And then from there, you move into A, which is assessment. And assessment is basically you saying, hey, based on all that stuff I did in objective, all those examinations, here's the diagnosis, here's what I'd recommend. And then that perfectly leads into plan, which is essentially you illustrating your treatment plan to the patient. So this is probably something you learn in school. Hopefully this is jogging your memory. It's a great starting point if you have nothing. So I'd recommend like start there and then kind of iterate and kind of find your own way. But I notice a lot of people love it once I show that to them, that they're like, oh, that makes sense to me. Breaking it down to those 4 sections.
Yeah, super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, real quick before I jump into this, one thing I like to talk about is like the pain here, because I think with AI, first of all, a lot of people immediately go to imaging when they think of dental AI, right? Like analyzing a radiograph, telling me what it means.
Yep.
We're very different as a voice AI company, right? And so the other part of it is people always think about efficiency. That's all they kind of think about. But there's a lot more to that. There's the accuracy component that I captured the things that I needed to capture to give the right treatment to the patient. That's a big one. Thinking about a note as an input to the overall like claim process and insurance approval process, right? Like that's another part of it. And then the other one we like to talk about is like compliance and audits. Like a lot of people don't realize it just takes one patient where something goes wrong and you go to court and they say, show me your notes. And you're like, I don't have notes.
Right.
And so that's the problem we're trying to solve for is like, the other thing I like to say is we're not replacing anybody with our AI. We're just trying to give you like a superpower. We're trying to augment what you do so you don't have to stay 1 to 2 hours after work to like do all your notes for the day, right?
I don't think hygienists, by the way, are worried about AI taking over our jobs. I think we're going to be, we realize the value of the tools that you all are building for us, and we're going to be very happy that we can use the restroom and get lunch and go home.
That's what
we're on your side too, don't worry.
Okay, so think of it in like 2 different buckets, like Rushi pointed out. You have what I call free form. So that's like, I just want to turn on the mic and speak, and then later you do something with it. So right now, we'll actually be releasing, hopefully this week, is we have a quick note, which is literally just capture the dictation, then summarize it in bullet points for me. We have an exam note, which is kind of our version of SOAP. So again, you kind of speak, and the other kind of cool thing is we have this concept of the clinical map on our page. And what that essentially shows you is it says, hey, for like the reason for the appointment, make sure you cover chief complaint, make sure you cover last dental visit, make sure you cover their medications, their allergies. So we kind of give you this guide, this visual indicators as you're speaking, it kind of marks them off. So you know, like, ooh, I hit the important things I need to hit for this appointment. And that's one of the coolest things we're noticing with clinicians is they're like, I want more of that. So we got a quick note, we got like our own version of soap, and then we're actually rolling out a soap version. Believe it or not, my understanding was, you learn soap in dental school primarily, and then you kind of create your own kind of templates and stuff like that. But there are some clinicians out there that are like, I love soap. And so we're also making them happy.
Good on them. We never use hygiene. So, I mean, unless we're helping a doctor out, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the bucket number one, freeform. And the other thing we have, which is really cool, is procedure-specific templates. Yes. We call these template notes. And basically the way that works is I click on filling. I'm doing a filling. And then what's awesome is we have the ability in our AI, we kind of ask you up front, is this a composite or glass? You say composite, we actually load a pre-written template that is specific to like a composite resin procedure. And then essentially I see these blue indicators on the screen that tell me to say certain things. So again, blood pressure, did you give them anesthesia? Did you do any imaging or radiographs? And as you say those, you'll notice that the AI fills out the template for you. And then again, you've also got that clinical map that's like marking each of those off, showing you that you've captured all those critical data points. So right now we've got fillings, we've got root canals, we're rolling out crowns, permanent and temporary this week. Now we've also got like prophy implants and extractions up next. From there, we'll do some customization with customers. But right now we want to see how they feel with like that fill in the blanks flow. And already it's kind of blowing people's mind because they're like, my team won't miss these details if I have this.
Yeah, that is, you guys are hitting exactly what I would want as well. Because it's great to have, the ability to have something, sit in the background listening, doing the things, but if I don't have those prompts, I might forget something. That's genius.
That's CJ genius there, Andrew.
Good job, CJ.
The funny thing, it's called the blank page problem in product design. It's if you give someone a blank canvas, what are they going to draw? What are they going to write? How did they do it? And we got that a lot with our hygienists where we're in dentists. We showed them the product. They're like, this is great. I don't know what to say. Please tell me what to say. And it's an interesting product, like CJ mentioned, because if we want it to be the most efficient way to do clinical notes, and this is, I'll get you to where we want to be, but the most efficient way to do clinical notes, the quickest, is to copy and paste your template from the previous exam. Truthfully, right? And so we're not going to beat the speed there. And we all know that's wrong for various reasons doing that. And so what we want to focus on is empowering hygienists and dentists to do that narrative. We want to hear you talk more. That's the thing. We want to hear dentists and hygienists be more verbose. Tell us the reason for the filling. Can't just say decay. Insurance is probably not going to be happy with a one-word answer. Can you please tell us more? And we prompt them and we help them say those things so that they have comprehensive notes, comprehensive documentation, and we help them do it fast. So you get better notes and you do them fast, which is, I think, every clinician's dream that we've spoken to.
I think the unintended benefit also, and maybe this is actually what you guys already knew this all along, and that was probably why you did it, but it's a lot of clinicians have a hard time having complete conversations with their patients, right? Mm-hmm. So even though we might be talking to each other behind the patient's back and mention something, hey, I gave 2 carps of lidocaine, blah, blah, blah. I think that as far as informed consent goes, like our patients need to really understand all of the things that we're doing with them and on them and to them. To them sounds bad, but like, and with them as because they are supposed to be our partners in all of this. And I think it kind of forces you to have a more comprehensive conversation. So that's a wonderful thing. And no one loses in that scenario, except for maybe the patient that's on nitrous that doesn't want to hear anything going on.
Chill.
Well, actually, I'm glad you brought this up, Andrew. All of our products, or especially Perio and AI Scribe, have a patient-facing portion of that. Perio has the periodontal index, which is kind of like a health score for your mouth. It talks about what's impacted and what parts of your mouth are facing what. And AI Scribe actually produces a patient note. which CJ, I think you can talk a little better about the patient note than I can.
Yep. Yeah, we call patient summary. Essentially, it's exactly what you're saying. So this was something I designed up front because I had a dentist for many years, and literally it was exactly the joke you started with. I'd go to my appointment, they'd do my cleaning, then you'd say, please keep brushing and flossing, and you just leave. And I switched to a new dentist. And basically she said to me, do you understand why flossing is important? And she went on this huge explanation of, how mouth health is an indicator of overall health, and cavities and stuff like that could just be caused by, not flossing regularly. And I finally understood, this is why they say that, right? And so we built this patient summary that basically takes the big complicated explanation of, the reason for a root canal, and we basically give a layman's terms version of it to the patient, right? So instead of saying bruxism, we say, hey, you're grinding your teeth. This is why that's bad, right? Yeah. And I was curious to see what clinicians think, and overall, they're like, I love this because it forces me to have that conversation. It forces me to give them something and say, do you understand what we covered today? I love that.
Well, it's audio and visual learning, right? I mean, you can be both, you can be one or the other. I think that's really great to cover both your bases there. So unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I do want to, I'm curious because from last conversation to this conversation, it's only been a year and there's so many things have happened. And I assume that some of the things you have to keep are proprietary, but what's the next? What are y'all working on next?
Cool. So the theme of Bola is we started at a point solution. We started at, there's one problem and it's perio charting, and we want to help you with that, and we want to attack that aggressively. And we did that with perio. We're now with adding in restorative, right? We're doing the same thing for restorative charting and same thing for clinical notes. Now we're kind of attacking 3 points in your new patient and recall patient examinations. What we really want to get to is the overall workflows. How can we start being seamless across almost all your touch points for a new patient and a recall patient? How can we be on the whole appointment, basically? How can we help with patient intake? How can we help with treatment planning and organization? How can we have multiple touch points so that clinicians just speak to Bola the whole time? That's where we want to get to. Some of our clinicians love Bola so much they call it Bola Bob. They personified it. It's actually kind of funny. We kind of internally talk about that, and that's a little bit of the vision. Is it's your person, it's your assistant. Go talk to them the whole time. Go give them the data the whole time, and let them handle it for you. Just give it away to them, and that's what we want to build to. And that's kind of, now we have, I think, the solid foundation with 3 solid products, and so now CJ is going to go back to the lab and come up with some other razzle dazzle, and hopefully we'll be back next year, Andrew.
Can I petition for an addition down the road whenever you guys have
go for it.
A role in what you're? I love clinician facing stuff a lot, but one of our pain points really was patient facing, and it'd be great if there was a way that, because everyone has different medical dental histories, right? And especially the elderly. I live in Florida, right? So we have a lot of older people that take 15, 20, 30 minutes to fill out this paperwork. How great would it be if they could just go ahead and input it somewhere? Well, that's like either before their appointment or whatever. I'm not really sure how that would look, but that's the pain point, is the time where each into my appointment now that I'm trying, and y'all have built tools to help me get that time back, but that's not going to be enough still. I would love for you guys to work on something like that. So sorry to put that in there.
CJ's massive smile should tell everybody. It's in the lab. It's in the lab, Andrew.
Good.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I love it. I can't wait to hear about the updates for that one.
Elaborate a little bit there, like adding context. So whether that's a prior note or like a form like you specified, or even interplaying with the other products. So if you do your restorative chart first, I could totally carry that over to the note and be like, hey, these 3 things happened. Do you want to include those in your clinical note? And so that's a big part of where we're going, is kind of tying that all together. And like Rushi said, making it feel like it's just flowing with you.
Oh, I love it. Earlier, I can't remember if we were on the recording part yet, but you guys had mentioned about seeing demos. If anyone wanted to learn more about what you guys are doing at Bola AI, like where do they go and how do they find all that?
If anyone wants to learn more, we'd love to show them a demo. You can learn more on our website, www.bola.ai. There's pages there for each of the products. You can sign up for a demo, and you can learn more.
Awesome. And I'll make sure I put that in the show notes too, listeners, so you can find it there. Rushi, CJ, thank you so much for being on. Appreciate this.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is a tale, oh yeah, a tale of two hygienists. So there might be only one, bringing the best of dental knowledge, and we do it all with ease. We cover oral health and screening, and preventing gum disease. We're gonna do a lot of learning, and have a little bit of fun working at the dentist. A tale of two hygienists.